Hi, we have Ophir with us. He's a CEO of super interesting company. So I'm gonna give voice to you now, if you don't mind giving us an introduction to what you do and what you're building.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm Ophir Samson. I'm the CEO and founder of Ezra AI Labs. It's a voice AI based interviewing platform that's built on the back of 3 years of R&D into voice AI specifically for the recruiting use case. Um, so I launched a company about a year ago. I built the product myself. We're backed by Andreessen Horowitz and other fantastic investors, including Penny Jar Capital and Element. And we are live in the market. We have large enterprise customers who have gone through very detailed and thorough pilots with us to make sure that it works really well and the candidates really like it. And yeah, we're out there doing kind of many interviews as we are recording today.
Awesome. So I think it's super interesting to have you here because I built very similar solution. So also in the area of uh, interviewing, mine was specifically designed for system design interviews. And let's say the journey was very lecturing in terms of technical capabilities right now, but also in terms of the user behavior while using interviews. So I'm really curious, how would you describe your journey? What was the biggest challenge so far for you?
From a voice AI perspective, a
Yeah.
voice AI engineering perspective. Yeah, it's a great question. I think I went on a journey that a lot of other voice AI engineers go on, which is you start thinking, oh, this is this is not too complex. You just add, like, conceptually, you have a transcription layer, then you have an LLM which does some magic in the middle, and then you just speak the answer, and let's just kind of chain the three together. What can be so difficult? And
Yeah.
then try that and realize the obvious thing about latency being kind of crazy, and you need orchestration and turn detection and voice activation detection and like all the other things. And then kind of step two was I started kind of experimenting with some of the other technologies out there, LiveKit, Pipecats, a bunch of those. And thinking, oh, like everything just will work out of the box. I just like, to give it an API key for DeepGram, an API key for OpenAI, an API key for 11 Labs, and it will all be great. And then I realized, oh, okay, there's actually a ton of engineering to do to actually make this into a good experience. And then there's a third stage of, oh, wow, speech-to-speech models. Like, these are amazing. Like, suddenly, like, this can solve everything for me. I don't have to worry with it or the kind of previous stuff and like turn detection and dealing with like different providers. Like, it's just a magical system that replaces how human speech, sound in, sound out, like everything's great. And then there's also like, then there was a disappointment there of like, oh, well, it's actually not reliable at all. And oh, I can't control it. And oh, it's like, it's not, behaving in the way that I expect. And oh, function calling just doesn't work. And anyway, so in each one of these phases, there was like a period of excitement and then kind of
Yeah.
disappointment. And I think where we are now is we have a stack that is I'd call extremely complicated. It's not it is not a few Lego pieces put together, um, but orchestrates all the things that we need it to do. And I'm really proud of it because it's the fastest latency of any voice AI product I've seen in the market, inside recruiting or outside recruiting. It is able to maintain really strong guardrails throughout the conversation as well, which is critical for our
Yeah.
customers. Thirdly, exactly. We're able to maintain structure of the conversation as well. So when recruiters want 7 questions to be asked in interviews, they want 7 questions to be asked to every single candidate. We, including follow-up questions. So we can control that deterministically, not based on the desires of the AI, like LLM in the moment. Um, we have phenomenal interruption handling. We've optimized, I think, really well for not interrupting candidates as well, allowing them time to think, handling different accents, and just kind of putting this all together in a production system that actually works and works with background noise and things like that. So, it's been a long journey to get here. And, as you know well, there's new tools, new technologies coming out all the time. So there's always, advancements to stay ahead of, but I feel very confident that what we have right now it's good, and this is what's winning us a ton of business, because a lot of recruiters they've been pitched by every single like voice AI company, and they're beginning to understand the difference between what is good and what is mediocre.
Yeah. I think you touched the ground on a lot of very interesting topics. So I would probably want to go into a few of the technical ones, but if you want to share, obviously. But before I do that, I noticed in my experience that probably 85% of the time what I was trying to do was a bad decision from a scoping perspective. Rather than like impossible from technical perspective. And I've had, I think, 4 or 5 different people approaching me. How do I do this? And they present me like a list of functionalities that they want to have from their voice AI system. And I tell them, okay, this is your list. You should probably start with this and get it to work well. And you're going to be ahead of the curve, right? And usually people don't like hearing that because they've seen the demos and our system solves everything. And you then hear the story that, company completely reverted from using AI, right? So my question is, how do you draw this line of what's gonna be implemented next? And also, how does the developer experience look like? Because with these systems, a lot of the things are not deterministic, and it's super difficult to get the right environment.
Yeah, it's a really good question. And I think your challenge is a bit different from mine in that it sounds like you spend a lot of time with clients who are trying to build their own voice AI systems. Whereas, our customers are companies and kind of recruiting agencies, staffing agencies, things like that, who are just kind of using our tool as is. So we have a slightly different kind of engagement model than you. But yeah, I mean, I've seen it happen a lot that companies. I think a lot of people just fundamentally underestimate the complexity of building an AI system and a voice AI system. And the funny thing is that like the more human these voice models sound, the more people assume that it has human level intelligence.
Yes.
And as you know well, like things that AI is really good at, humans are bad at, and often the opposite is true as well. The things that humans are really good at, AI is really bad at. So you've got these voice systems, these, the speech models that are just becoming so human, and they can like speak with all the nuance and sound so real. So we listen to them and we think, well, like it's so human, so surely it could do a task that like a 5-year-old can do. And then they get really frustrated when they can't. So I often talk about the surface area of disappointment, that the kind of better the voice AI sounds, the larger the surface area of disappointment is, because people assume it can do so much more than what it can actually do.
this resembles my experience as well. So in fact, I purposefully in one of the solutions chose model that performed slightly worse for us, because when we used one of the 11 labs, which sounded beautiful, then it was quite obvious whenever something was off that people became more frustrated. So it's a very interesting thing to observe. And I suppose it's interesting from the customer perspective, right? So you talk a lot about the people enjoying the experience of an interview. So how do you approach evaluating that and also iterating on it in general?
Yeah, it's a really great question. First and foremost, we have done a ton of research with candidates to understand from them what makes a good versus bad experience. I think it's very easy to just kind of start building and engineering. As an engineer,
Yeah.
I'm kind of predisposed to doing that. When the user or the product is someone who is maybe much less technical, you really have to start from the end goal of what makes a good candidate experience and work backwards from there. So candidates will tell you that they'll often talk about using kind of voice mode on ChatGPT or things like that, and how much they hate it when they get interrupted. They just start a thought and then there's an interruption. They'll talk about when when it won't, that they'll say something that will clearly be middle of a discussion, and then we'll just kind of move on to the next question, or that it feels too much like an interrogation, or the sound is too robotic, or the AI avatars, for example. That's something which I find a little bit creepy, and a lot of candidates do as well. Yeah, I mean, it's you have to start from the end and work backwards, and then there's also but then once you start building the system, it's a ton of evals. So I think just not enough people are doing. I know you've written a lot about this, and I love your writing on this topic.
Thank you. I
It's
appreciate it.
the most underrated and important part of the entire development process. I mean, ultimately, someone is going to find the issues in your product, and it can either be your customers or it can be an AI agent in an eval framework, and I prefer it to be the latter.
Yeah. Yeah. Very interesting. Very interesting. So you mentioned a lot about voice activity detection. For me, this is a incredibly interesting topic because I've had so many different experiences in different products where, for instance, in yours, I can imagine if it's an interview, somebody thinks for quite a while after thinking about a more complex problem, right? And where is the point that you interrupt this person? What did you end up with, and where did you start it with? What are you using essentially?
Yeah. So where what we end up with is, where we are right now is, if Ezra asks a candidate a question, the candidate can say, um, they can say, is it okay if I take a minute to think about this? And Ezra will say, yeah, sure, take your time, and it will give them as much time as they want. Also, we do a really good job if a candidate is speaking, um, like this, which most candidates do, and they
Yeah.
take
Yeah.
long pauses. It won't interject and interrupt. As I mentioned, that's one of the really irritating things to candidates.
Yeah.
So that's where we are right now, and but there's I'd love to say that there's one tool, one choice of one choice of whisper model or deep grammar or whatever, or Speechmatics that will kind of get you that. It's not. There isn't a magic solution. You
Yeah.
have there's it's experimentation, it's iteration, it's deeply, deeply understanding your use case. Um, and yeah, and just kind of being absolutely obsessed about getting it right. There's no kind of API that that people, I can tell people and say use this, and then you won't have these like bad problems. It's like, yes, there are some kind of better tools than others, but it's 90% of the work is the perspiration, not the inspiration.
Yeah, so to tell a little bit more about it, I had a very interesting experience building my website just a few days ago. So I, out of curiosity, tried with Claude, and the output was absolutely terrible. Then I tried with Google Stitch, which is essentially almost same quality of the model, but with a lot of infra around it, right? And it got it very well on the first try. Like it was really decent. And I feel like with voice AI, it is exactly the same, but because it's so new and there are so many different problems to solve, there doesn't exist a silver bullet, nor exist very comprehensive tutorials like how to do it and you find a solution, right? It's always R&D and really just trying to come up with what solves our issue.
Totally. Yeah. And the other thing I think about in this topic is we have evolved over hundreds of thousands of years to just intuit what a good conversation sounds like, a good
Yeah.
audio interaction sounds like. We have seen websites and like text-based systems for tens of years. That hasn't like filtered into our DNA and our evolutionary makeup. So we are much, much, much more sensitive to weirdness in an
Yeah.
audio conversation than we are like weirdness in a website. And so that's kind of like the quality bar on voice AI is so much higher than it is on like website design, because I know they're like a bit apples to oranges. I'm just saying that in terms of what would make the user feel, oh, this is off, this is
Yeah,
weird, like
exactly.
it's baked into our DNA with voice, and it's not with other systems.
Okay, this is super interesting. Yeah. You got me very curious about what you're using. If I were to guess, there would be like another observational layer onto what people say. It's like super fast, small LM or something like that. Grok inference and making some additional controls. If I were to just guess from what you're saying, but
Yeah, there's lots of guardrails in place, lots of kind of backup systems. But I think that's a that's one of the kind of learnings that we had, that you're not going to cover all of the use cases that you need to with a simple like pipeline of just speech to text, LLM, text to speech. Um,
uh,
that's fine. Like again, it depends what you're trying to build. If you're trying to build a demo that works in a nice kind of environment in a room like this, no background noise, clear speech, a 3-minute demo, like fine. But I think the other kind of learning that I'd encourage or that a realization that I'd encourage everyone who's building voice AI to kind of listen to is that like getting to like getting to 90% of the problem, or even I'd say like 60% of the problem, is very easy. It's a long tail of things that happen when you put the product out into into deployment. That's when the real work starts. So getting a demo of voice AI is really easy. I mean, go to
yeah, yeah,
Vapi or like that will Bland or Retail, amazing products, and they will cover that like first 80, 90% often. if your use case is one where, you know, there's compliance, there's like
Yeah.
legal risk, that long tail is really important, right? And there are, I've heard of like really nefarious use cases and candidates and people who do not use these things in good faith, and
Yeah.
customers really care about kind of protecting that long tail. So yeah, I think you know, as you learn about if you're building in healthcare, for example, then like really understand how the product is going to be used in like the happy path, and then also think about all the ways it can be used nefariously, and then think about what modifications you need to make to your pipeline and to your kind of orchestration to protect against those things. That's really important to that was an important like learning for us.
Yeah, I think it's this exact piece of work is something nobody really talks about because most of the companies are not really there yet. That's just the truth. Usually everyone is at the very early pilot stages or like very optimistic it's just gonna work with 11 labs. Let's just put an agent, it's gonna do its job. And then the customer satisfaction scores drop and essentially nobody wants to use it, right? Or I've seen metrics like the speed of closing the tickets improved. Well, sort of, but then people open up the same issues because AI did not resolve them, right? So it's I feel like this production reality really differs from uh what you're being shown, and and from what you're saying, you did a lot of work to truly support the solution end to end for the clients that you have.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm I am absolutely obsessed about product quality, and I mean we have far too many interviews. I can watch every one, but I spend a good few hours every day just watching interviews and looking at data. We have a whole separate monitoring system for
Okay.
um, like a whole like observability layer, and then a whole like monitoring system for like, what's happening within the interview and what's happening after the interview, how we're doing the evaluations of it to make sure that we've captured everything, that the yeah, so we do a ton of analysis because I am my engineering team will tell you how much this sometimes frustrates them, but I am like really, really, really obsessed about latency, and I will obsess about shaving 10 milliseconds off latency, and about structure and quality of the follow-up questions and like all these kind of things. Um, and I think you just need to be, because like that is not stuff you can vibe code. There's
Yes.
no like you can't stick that into Claude code and get it to like build you with it. You have to, maybe in 2 years or whenever, like that one day that might be the case, but for now you have to understand the engineering, you have to understand the use case, you have to understand how your customers are going to be using it. And we've had amazing support from the Pipecat team, so we work really closely with them, and that's our that's our framework of choice, and so shout out to them for being really helpful.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I find it difficult to find uh, frameworks are that would help solve big issues, well, complex issues, I mean, that are not open source. So like, without being able to, create additional layers on top of voice AI solution is just almost impossible whenever the solution gets more complex.
Right, right, right.
We're gonna be running out of time shortly. I know that you have to run, that you have a hard stop in 3 minutes. So I suppose I'd like to ask you one final question. Uh, if you were to give an advice to companies exploring voice AI solutions and really wanting to help their customers, what would it be?
Startups or
I think enterprises.
enterprises who so my advice to anyone who's trying to like sell into an enterprise is do not underestimate the importance of expectation management. So
Okay.
helping before you start trying to like build anything, be super clear and make sure you're on the same page with the customer about what voice AI can and what it can't do. So, because if you get that wrong, then just going back to what I said earlier about having a surface area of disappointment, their surface area will be really large. They're like, oh, well, it sounds so human. Surely it should be able to basically, like, I should talk to it like I talk to another human, and it should be able to do everything I want. They may not be aware of the complexities of like tool calling accuracy and you know all of these things. So yeah, just be really clear upfront about what it can and can't do, manage expectations, and then build from there.
Okay, this is an amazing advice. I love it. It was
And
a
also to follow your writing because I really think you give phenomenal advice. And I've learned a lot from it, and I've shared a lot of your writings with my team as well. And yeah, I think especially your experience on the telephony side as well is it's super valuable. And I think you're sharing a lot of stuff that other takes engineering teams a long time. It would take them a long time to figure out.
I truly, truly appreciate it. It means a lot to me. Thank you so much for your time. It was amazing having you here. I think everyone watching this will learn a lot. And yeah, go visit Ophir. Sorry, I'm pronouncing your name very poorly. His website. I'm gonna link it in the description below. And once again, thank you for coming here.
Of course. The pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. See you.
Bye.